Okay, we are down in my seed germination room, and pardon if you can hear the fan blowing, but it actually, if you watch for a second, it'll rustle the stems of my plants, and this actually helps them to become stronger. Some of them are like drooping over, but that's because I just watered them. They're getting a little thirsty. But what we're going to do, these were started in soil blocks. We are going to take these upstairs and we are going to transplant or pot them up into larger containers. Okay, so we are back upstairs. I brought the tomato seedlings with me. You might be able to get a better look at just how tall they're getting. And what we're going to do is we are going to transplant into these little 4-packs. They have quite a good depth on them, and it'll give them more opportunity to grow and stretch out their roots. So let me get you turned down here. Okay, so what we're going to do first is I have some black Krim tomatoes, and I will put a picture up in the corner of these. We're just going to take a finger and we are going to push it really far down inside that hole. So we make a divot. So we'll take this one, and as long as you don't damage their stem, they're pretty easy to transplant. So I'm just gonna shove them nicely down into that hole and then bury them. And if you don't know already, tomatoes will root all along their stems, so you can bury them. Let's see if I can get it close. You could bury them up fairly high. Best not to have any of the leaves touching the soil, but you can bury them up, and then that will create a sturdier, stockier plant. So I'm just going to work on these for a little bit here. And I've never grown the black Krim before. I also have over here Romas and some yellow pear, just because we have some friends that like yellow pear. But I was told by someone that likes to make tomato sauce products like I do, that if you have a few different varieties of tomatoes, and usually the beefier type of tomato, to make sauces with, you get a better depth of flavor. And I've usually always just used Romas or a type of paste tomato, but I'm really excited this year to add the black Krim into that and see what kind of results I get. So if you're interested in watching these tomatoes grow and making the sauce and canning it down the road here, be sure you're subscribed. Okay, I wanted to see if I could get you a little bit closer so you could maybe see better what I'm doing. You see how far I'm putting them down in there? Not very good at camera angles here. But these ones that I'm doing now, I've moved on from the black Krim, and these are my Romas. And sometimes if I don't have enough potting mix up next to the plant, where you can see there's still some room there for the soil to be, or the soilless mix to be up higher, I will just go grab some more and fill in around it. I'm just going to work on these and keep going until I get all our little babies transplanted. Maybe I'll put these up here. This is the one time I do not like to wear my gloves. I like to feel what I'm doing, and I just feel so clunky when I wear gloves when it comes to transplanting. And a tomato, again, some of you probably already know this, but for those of you that don't, when they get larger, you can even lay them on their side and plant them, and the tip of it will tip up and grow towards the sun. So if you have really long, leggy tomato plants, when it comes time to put them outside, you can do that, and that way it'll make a stronger plant for you, and you won't have to worry about it getting beat up and blown over in the wind. But I try this. This will be the first potting up, and I will actually probably do one more before they go out into the field, depending on how big they get by that time. For us around here, May 15th is our average last frost date. So if by that time they're looking like they could use another potting up, and mostly I do that not just to build their root development, but also to keep their stems from getting too leggy. Now they are going to stay down in my germination room because the temperatures outside are not adequate. As we get a little bit further into April, I will be moving them down to the greenhouse, and I do have a setup down there for them. If you want to watch that video, I will link it in the description below. It has a table. I used to use it as a germination table, but propane has become a little too pricey for heating my greenhouse for the small amount that I do. I'm not like a large grower, so I simply made a little setup down there where I can cover it with a frost blanket, and I even put some of my germination mats down there for the warmth, and the tomatoes and the peppers, when the weather gets a little bit better, will stay down there, and that keeps the roots and the plant warm enough so that they can be out of my germination room. Okay, I had two little soilless or soil pack blocks of the Romas. And one thing I love about certain vegetables and flowers for that matter is when you bump the leaves, you can smell them. So right now, as I'm bumping the leaves of these little tomato plants, I can smell the tomato plant smell. Makes me so excited for the weather to get even warmer so we can put these little babies into the garden. And okay, now what I'm going to do, since I have them all transplanted, is I'm going to go through, and I'm just going to use this little cup just for the sake of showing you here because it takes me a little while, but I'm just going to give them each a little bit of water, and this is only to help the dirt adhere around the plant and the roots so there's no little air pockets in there that could cause them to dry out and stunt their growth. So I'll do that to every single one that I transplanted, and then we will get them tucked back in their germination room. Okay, we're back down in the seed germination room, and I just want to show you I have the tomatoes that we just transplanted all tucked in nicely down here. And as they get a little bit taller, I will raise the light up a few more notches, and by the time they need to go in a little bit bigger of a pot, we should be ready to put them down in the greenhouse just with the heat mat underneath them. So, okay, so I thought I would bring you back down to my seed germination room and show you just how tall the tomatoes have gotten. And it's literally only been a week. So potting them up really does make a difference. These are going to be done one more time, probably into 4-inch pots. But you can see, if you can see that, I already have roots coming out the bottom. So these little guys have been fertilized down here, and the temperature of the room, show you my cute little thermometer here, it stays between 75 and just under 80 down here. So they are very happy, but I just wanted to give you a little update on what they were looking like. Okay, so here are the tomatoes. I brought them up from the germination room. We're going to work on putting them into 4-inch pots, but because tomatoes grow roots all along the stem here, and these are the cotyledons. They're not true leaves, and they're just for the sole purpose of getting the plant going as soon as they germinate. I will clip all of these off and just remove them because I am going to be burying this tomato all the way up to here. All right, so what I'm going to do first is I have just a tiny little bit of potting medium in the bottom of this pot, because what I want to do, and I'm going to just kind of work the pot a little bit, and you actually can hold on to the stem if you do it gently. And I'm pulling these out, and they're already getting dry. They're drinking so much, and you can see the root system on it. It's not huge, but it's perfect for transplanting. So I'm going to put this down into my pot, and I'm going to push it down just with my fingers. I'm going to kind of compress the dirt a little bit, but not pack it. And then I'm going to put my potting mix into the pot here. And I'm going to bury that stem up as high as I can get it. If I had a little bit of deeper pots, I could get probably all the way up to the leaves, but this is pretty good. See how much difference from sticking up from the previous one to this one? So what's going to happen is this stem is now going to develop roots, and it's going to make the plant even that much sturdier and healthier, and it'll just continue to bush out and make a nice big tomato. So I'm going to work on getting all of these done. I might do one more and then just show you what my germination room looks like once I've taken them all from like 4 to a pack to a 4-inch pot. And it takes up a lot of room in my grow room, but after a few more days, I think will be good enough where I can do like I showed in my previous video about moving day, where I moved some of my seedlings down to my greenhouse. I will be using a heat mat on top of cardboard and a emergency blanket to give it that insulation factor, and then I put a frost cloth over the top at night to keep them nice and toasty warm in there. So this one I will just, you can actually just pinch off with your thumbnails too. I'm just pinching off those little emergent. I should have watered these a little bit, but oh well. Okay, so again, I'm going to take it, I'm going to push it down. I'm going to fill the pot up with medium, compress it down a little bit, and I'm just compressing lightly. I'm not smashing it by any means. Okay, and then I have a second one done. Okay, I just wanted to show you, I got one full tray done so far. This variety is the beefsteak, and if you couldn't tell when I was showing the transplanting of them this time, I always start with a pre-moistened potting mix. It just makes it easier for the water to absorb, and it gives less shock to the root structure. But I poured water down there in the bottom so that they could bottom water. You can see the bottom of the pot is wet. They've already drinking up quite a bit of it. I'll probably do it again, but I also come through on the top and I just give a little splash of water, sorry about that, around each one, and that is just to secure the potting mix around the freshly planted roots, again to prevent any air pockets so that none of the roots dry out. Gives them the best little start. And this is Ginger. She thinks she's hungry all the time. Those that we just got done transplanting into the 4-inch pots. They will stay in here for probably about a week, and then we will move them down to the greenhouse. And from that point, they will just stay in the 4-inch pots until we can get them out in the field. So I'm going to give you a brief little look at the tomatoes, and just wanted to thank you for hanging out with me today, and we'll see you next time.